What's going on, y'all? It's Gum TCG here, and I'm here with the Three Sword Style and the Diable Jambe Master, Zoro and Sanji. Today, as you can tell by the title and the thumbnail, we are going to be talking about the Zoro Sanji structure deck, ST-12, and kind of figuring out if this deck's really worth it, how viable these cards are, stuff like that. You know, I think that a lot of the cards in this deck have some application that could be used in the future for sure. But how good are they out of the box, and how good are they coming right into the meta of OP06? Because they come out on the same day as OP06 for the TCG. So I kind of wanted to dive in, show you what the deck looks like, the contents of it, and what to really expect from these cards, especially if you haven't seen any of them. Really just wanted to talk about them. So before we get into that, I do want to shout out Dueling Guard. So if you haven't heard of Dueling Guard, they're the best TCG accessory company on the market. They make high quality anime inspired TCG accessories such as deck boxes, binders, and playmats. And if you haven't checked them out before, do yourself a favor, go check out the link in my description and use code GumGumTCG to get a discount at checkout. What? You haven't heard of Dueling Guard? Dueling Guard is the best TCG accessory company on the market. They have high quality deck boxes, binders, and playmats made for people who enjoy playing and collecting trading card games in style. They have tons of designs based off of fan favorite animes such as One Piece, Bleach, Full Metal Alchemist, and many more. They hit the ground running earlier this year, making high quality TCG accessories with beautiful designs that have sold out many times. So if you haven't picked up any of their products, make sure to do so before they sell out again. I have a few deck boxes and playmats from them already and can attest to how they don't cut any corners when it comes to quality, performance, and design. I highly recommend their products and use them every time I play cards. Be sure to check the description below for a link to their site and use code GumGumTCG for a discount at checkout. Alright, y'all, without further ado, let's go ahead and look at this leader. So, it's interesting. I think this is the first leader that we have that has two characters on it. I'm pretty sure about that. If I'm wrong, correct me in the comments below, but I'm pretty sure about that. It also has two attributes, which I think is interesting. It's a blue-green leader, and it has two attributes. I can't tell what they are, but I'm pretty sure it's ranged and strike. And then... no, it's slash and strike. Sorry about that. It says Dawn ×1. When attacking, once per turn, you may return one of your cost 2 or higher characters to its owner's hand. Set up to one of your power 7,000 or less characters as active. So at the cost of 1 Dawn and attacking with this leader, you can bounce a 2 or higher to your hand and then set a 7k or less active. It seems decent. You know, I think if you have the right setup and the right 2 cost on the field, I think that you can do some cool stuff with this leader. You could set some cool targets back as active. But how good is this really? I think that it's just okay. I feel that the deck has to be built in such a specific way, and you have to play so many specific cards and a lot of 2 costs to really synergize with some of the other cards in this deck. But I'm not mad at it. I think that in the future this will get better, and it being blue and green, as well as set 6 coming out with a lot of support, that's inherent support for this leader and for this deck, I think that it's decent. I don't think that it's insane. I don't think it's the most broken leader we've ever gotten out of a structure deck. I think it's right in the middle of the pack. I think that it's okay. But moving forward, let's go ahead and talk about the contents of the deck and what you get. So you're going to start off with receiving 4 copies of Kuina, 3 cost, 2k, 1000 counter. As the activate main, you can rest this character and rest an opponent's 4 or lower character. Not bad. It also has a trigger to play itself, which I think that makes this a little bit better. But resting this to rest a 4 or less makes it vulnerable, and that's really where this leader effect comes into play. So you would play this, or hopefully you triggered it out of life last turn or something, rest it, rest a 4 or less, leader effect after attacking, bounce it, and stand something else back as active. So good way to deal with a blocker. I don't think it's a terrible card. I think it's okay. Middle of the road. One of the good cards out of here, though, is going to be Dracula Mihawk, which is one of your super rares. You're only going to get 2 copies of this. So I want to say, before we move any further, I do always recommend that if you are picking up a structure deck, to pick up 2 copies of it. I think that it's a rule that I live by. I believe that You should do this because there are a lot of, as you can see from the list, there are a lot of cards that you only get 2 copies of. And if you're wanting to have full play sets, you're going to need to pick up 2 structure decks. So if you have the opportunity to at your LGS or your local Walmart, Target, online, even when pre-ordering, I also recommend pre-ordering or supporting your LGS if possible. But picking up 2 copies is always great. I try to pick up 2 copies of every structure deck. Whether or not I'm going to play them doesn't really matter. I believe that the contents of the deck could always be good one day. We've seen it in the past, and we will see it again in the future. So keep that in mind. Even even despite what I say about this deck or if it's worth it or not. I think that it's always worth picking up 2 copies of a structure deck if you're wanting to get that deck and those cards. So if you are a green player, you are a blue player, I would say that picking up this deck might be in your best interest, because this Mihawk card is broken, and I believe that this Mihawk card, as well as this Ivankov card, being the 2 super rares you get in the deck and only 2 ofs, will be multiple dollars a piece and will equate to about the value of the structure deck. So if you were thinking about just grabbing these singles, maybe just go ahead and pick up the deck. But moving forward, let's just go ahead and talk about this card. 3 cost, 4K slash counter 2000. Broken off the bat. 2000 counter on this body, I think is ridiculous. It did not need that part, but they gave it to it anyway, and I think it's very, very strong. It says on play, if you have 2 or less characters, you play 1 4 cost or lower Shigeru Kingdom or slash type character card other than Mihawk from your hand rested. So targets in this deck, just targets in this deck, there's not too many. I believe you have Humandro, you have Perona, you have Yosuku and Johnny, and then you have this Zoro. I believe that's all the targets. Oh, and the Kuina. I believe that's all the targets in the deck. So it's going to be all the green cards except for Rika. But, oh, I guess Humandro. Oh, it does work. It's the typing. That's my bad. I was going to say, I was looking at the attribute too much. But these 2 do work because they're Shigeru Kingdom. Anyway, this card is really strong. Very, very good in Green Uta. So if you're a Green Uta player, I would recommend grabbing these cards. I think that it's pretty good in there. You can play this, turn 2, play Law, and then bounce it to play Nami. Or no, I believe you play Brook, then play Nami. Very, very strong. I like it a lot, and I think that this has a lot of applications for green decks moving forward. So I do really like this card. Next, we have a 3 cost 5K vanilla with 1000 counter, going to be the Humandro. Following that, we have a 4 cost 6K vanilla being Perona with 1000 counter. We got 2 cost 3K Yosuku and Johnny, 1000 counter. Dawn times 1 when attacking, choose up to one of the following effects. You either rest a 2 or less, or you KO a rested 2 or less. So that's not bad. I just feel that there's not too many times this effect's going to come up. You know, there's not a lot of 2 or less characters that people play too often. You know, most of them are searchers, chump blockers, things like that. Yeah, not too many great things, in my opinion, that you can pop off with this, but not an awful card either. You know, I guess if you were to play this in a green-black leader like Perona, you could theoretically reduce the cost of things to make them lower, and then this would become a lot better, but I think that it's a decent card for what it does in its stat line. Next, we have Rika, which I actually like this card pretty good too. It's got 2 cost, 0 power, 2000 counter, so they are loading you up on 2k counters in this deck, which I do like. I feel like they've been doing that more often. Maybe I've just not noticed it in the past, but like you get 10 2ks just in one deck, which I think is pretty decent. You know, I like playing 8 to 12 2ks in a deck. I think that's a good ratio, and them giving you 10 of them and them actually being good playable 2Ks, I think is good too. That seems to be something Bandai's moving towards a lot more, is making your 2Ks actually playable instead of cards you just toss out of your hand. But anyway, on play, you can pay 2 Dawn. If your opponent has 3 or more life cards, you set a slash type character with a cost of 4 or less active. So this is really good when you pair it with some of your other cards in here, like Mihawk, Kuina, Yosuku and Johnny, or specifically this Zoro. So let's go ahead and talk about this Zoro, because I think this is one of the better cards to come out of this deck as well, being a 4 cost 6k with no counter. Dawn times 1 when attacking, rest up to one of your opponent's cost 6 or lower characters. That's really, really strong. We have a similar card to this in the green Yamato 4/6, which has no counter as well, but it's on play, rest a 6 or less. This being able to do it every time is very, very strong. You can also restand it with your leader. You can also play it off of Mihawk. I believe that this card's really, really good. I know that red-green Luffy players are probably looking forward to this a lot. This card's very strong for that deck. And I feel like this card could be played in a lot of decks, honestly. So definitely keep your eye on this card. I think that it's a slept-on common card for sure. Next, we got a 1-drop 3K with 1,000 counter vanilla, being the bluefin elephant tuna. Beautiful fish, looking at it, jumping out the sky. Not sure exactly why they picked this card, but I do like this character, or fish, I guess. Next, we have the other super rare of the deck, being Ivankov. This card's actually pretty good as well, and can see application in many other decks in the future as well, I think. So I do like it too. It's going to be a 3-cost 4K with 1,000 counter. On play, reveal the top card of your deck, play up to 1 cost 2 character card, then return the remaining to the top or bottom of your deck. So it is restricted to a 2-cost, so you have to play a 2-cost off of that. It can't be a 2 or less, or a 2 or higher. Of course, 2 or higher would be broken, but a 2 or less doesn't work either. It has to be a 2-cost. But if you whiff, you do get to keep it on the top if you want, which I think is pretty good and interesting. A lot of the times cards like this make you put it to the bottom. This one keeps it on the top. And then it also has, when attacking once per turn, if your hand has 6 cards or less, you draw a card. So I think this card's actually pretty good. You could see application in the Ivankov deck itself, in the Hannibal deck. It is Impel down typing, so you can search it in those decks. I do think that it's good for this leader as well, being able to play a 2-cost, so being able to pump out some of your bodies like Pudding, Sanji, Yosakujani, Rika, Duval, Patty and Carne. I think that this card's actually pretty decent, so I do like this one as well. Next, we have Sanji, being a 2-cost 3K. Dawn times 1 when attacking. If you have 5 or less cards in your hand, this character gains 2,000 power until the start of your next turn. That's actually pretty good. So being a 2-cost 5K essentially, and it stays that stat line too onto your opponent's turn, seems pretty good. And it would be a 6K when you attack with it too, because you have to have the Dawn times 1. So I actually like this Sanji a lot. Playing this off of Ivankov seems pretty strong. I do like it. Next, we have one of my other favorite cards out of this deck, and just because of the effect on it, I think that it's good, especially if you play it off of something like Ivankov, or you get it onto the field for free. It's a 2-cost 2K Pudding with a 2,000 counter as well, and it has an effect that says activate main, return this character to the owner's hand. So if you were to play this off of Ivankov, you can then just bounce it back to your hand and get basically a free 2K to your hand. I really like that. I think that it's pretty good. Is it broken? I think that it's still decent though. I like it for being a 2K, and with the application and some of these other cards in this deck, I do think that it's pretty good. Next, we have our 5-cost Zeph. 5,000 power, 1,000 counter. On play, looks at the top 3 cards of your deck and rearranges them on the top or the bottom in any order. And then when attacking, you can reveal the top card of your deck, and you can play a 2-cost character rested, then return the remaining cards to the top or bottom. So similar effect to Ivankov, but doesn't get the draw. It does play something rested though, so like I said, playing in your Pudding or your Sanji does feel pretty good off of this. I do like that a lot. You could even play Duval, and then put the remaining cards at the bottom, then stack again with Duval, or you could play Patty and Carne, and this being one of your better vanillas in the deck, being a 2/4, only need 1 Dawn investment to make it a good swing, and you can play it off of multiple cards in this deck. I think that Patty and Carne is pretty good, but yeah, I do like the Zeph card as well, being able to get some extra knowledge in your deck and play a card for free. I think that it's actually pretty good. I don't like the stat line that much, but I think that its effect makes up for it. I wish that it was like a 5/6. I think that would make it a lot better, but kind of can't complain, you know. Next, we have Duval, which I think is my favorite card out of this deck. Being a Queen player, this card is really, really strong, and I really, really like it a lot. Still debating on this or the blue 1-drop Perona in the list, but so far I've been leaning towards Duval just because it's a great card. It's a 2-cost 1K with 1,000 counter. It is a blocker that has the effect that on play, you can look at the top 3 cards of your deck and place them at the top or bottom in any order. So you get a mini stack and a blocker with just 2 Dawn. I think it's pretty good. I like it a lot. But like I said, unfortunately, this is one of those cards they only gave you 2 copies of, so I will need to pick up 2 copies of this structure deck myself if I'm wanting to grab those cards. Next, we have the 2-cost 4K Patty and Carne, like I mentioned a second ago, with 1,000 counter. Just being a good vanilla, like I said, being able to play it off of Zeph or Ivankov seems pretty good to me. And then next we have some event cards. So first one we have, I do like a lot, actually. It is a 2-cost green event, Lion Song, Straw Hat Crew typing, so you can play this in your red-green Luffy deck if you'd like. Has the effect that's main or counter. You get to rest one of your opponent's leaders or cost 4 or lower characters. I think that's actually really, really strong. If you are playing this as a counter event and your opponent's attacking you with characters and they have a good broken leader effect or something, or their leader can swing multiple times or something like that, just being able to rest it for 2 Dawn feels pretty good to me. Like if you're playing against a win attacking leader, they're not getting that attack unless they have a restand. So I do like this event a lot. And then our next one is going to be a 1-cost blue Parade Shot, however you say it. It's a counter event that gives one of your leader or characters 2,000 power for this battle. Then you reveal the top card of your deck, play up to 1 cost 2 character. Then you place the remaining cards on the bottom of your deck if you were to not find any more, or the top. So being a 2K counter that also plays one of your 2-cost bodies, I think is actually pretty decent as well. Like I said, you could play this, play something like Devolve, so you get a free blocker out of it as well, and you get to restack the top cards of your deck too. You could even play your Sanji, you could play your Pudding, you could play your Patty Incarnate, you could play a lot of these other cards as well, like Rika and Yosuke and Johnny. I do like this event as well. I think that it's pretty dang strong. But how do I feel about the deck as a whole? I believe that there are a lot of good cards in here. I feel like there's a lot of cards that aren't as good as they read, you know, cards like the Kuina, cards like the Rika, cards like Yosuke and Johnny, stuff like that. Cards like the Zeph, like I feel like it's just a high Dawn investment for what it does. I feel like there's better ways to do what it does. But some of the other cards I really like Mihawk. I really like the 4-cost Zoro. I really like Ivankov. I think Sanji's really good. I think Duval's really good. And I like both of these events quite a bit as well. Like I said, pairing this with some of the support from OPO6, I think that this leader could be pretty decently strong. But after looking at metagame reports for the OCG, I could only find one topping list for this leader in OPO6 format. So we are going to take a look at that here in a second, but my overall thoughts on this deck before we do that, I do think it's a good deck, and I do actually recommend picking up 2 copies of it. I do think it's worth it, simply because there are a couple cards in here that I think are very strong, those being that Mihawk, that Ivankov, I think Duval is very good, this Zoro, and then these 2 event cards are both very good as well. I would recommend it, and I do say it's worth it. If you can get these for MSRP or maybe just a little bit over, I'd say pick these up. I feel like some of these cards will have a home in a much better leader or deck in the future, and you might be kicking yourself later if you don't grab them. So I know we've done these a couple of times, and I almost always say they're worth it, but maybe we'll one day get to a structure deck that I'd say is not worth picking up. But for now, this is not one of those. I do like this deck, and actually, if you're a fan of the channel, or if you're not subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe, because I've got a cool series planned with this structure deck and OPO6 that will be coming out here soon once both of those come out and are released and official in the TCG. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you subscribe, like this video if you like this kind of content, and comment down below. Let me know how you feel about this deck. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and let me know if you're looking forward to it, if you're really looking forward to playing this leader. I think that it is a cool leader and it has a cool effect. So how about we take a look at a list that actually got a top at a tournament in Japan and see what they were playing. Alrighty, and here's the list. So off the bat, quite a few 2-cost characters, and I think that that's pretty good. I think that it fits well with the theme of this deck and a lot of the cards in this deck, and I think that this deck actually has some decent legs. Is it amazing? Is it the best deck I've ever seen? I don't really know how to feel about it. I feel that it's just okay. I feel like this is a middle-of-the-road deck that you can take to your locals and have a good time with, play some games on the sim and have a good time with. Is it going to be winning a big event? No. Is it going to be winning your locals? Probably not. But I do think that this looks like a lot of fun. So why don't we dive into it? So first off, of course, we're playing the leader card. Next, we are playing a couple film cards. I believe it's just these 2. It's going to be 2 of the Tony Chopper 2K that has the Dawn ×1 when attacking. Rest a opponent's character with a cost of 2 or less. effect. Don't know exactly why we're playing this other than maybe a 2K. And I guess you could play it off of a couple of these cards, but playing this 2K and then bouncing it back to your hand seems pretty decent to me. So next we are on the 2-cost Film Law, which actually plays pretty good into this deck if you have the right cards in your hand to play off of it. I think the only target we have, though, is this Ivankov, so it feels kind of bad if you don't have that Ivankov, but if you do have the Ivankov, it does feel pretty good. So being able to play this, bounce it back to your hand, play the Ivankov, pop your top of your deck into play as well, seems pretty decent to me. Next, we're on 4 Sugar, which is arguably one of the best 2-drops in the game. I think this card's incredibly strong, and if you can defend it and set up right, this card can be a menace for certain decks that don't have the right removal for it. So definitely like that a lot, as well as the 2-cost Rosinante. I believe that this is one of the other strongest 2 costs in the game, being a blocker that can replace another rested character from getting destroyed or KO'd. Really, really like this card a lot. I actually wish they were on more copies of this, but maybe there's reasoning behind that. I know they're playing more of the Duval to stack and stuff, but maybe they could have fit the 2 extra copies in here. Maybe they don't like it, but I would have liked to see 2 more copies of this. Next, we're on 4 copies of Euroj, and I think this is the first list I've ever seen playing this card that wasn't just out of the box structure deck, and I really like this card. If you could spam the board, this card becomes pretty powerful. 2 costs, 3k, 1000 power. Dawn times 1 if you have 3 or more characters. This card gains 3k power. No, 2k power. So it becomes a 6k if you have two more characters, because this counts itself. So yeah, I really like this card in here. I think that's actually pretty spicy, and I think that it's pretty good as well. Next, we're on 4 copies of Scratchman of Pooh, being just another one of those good 2Ks. Not really going to be swinging with this or anything, but being able to pop it off of Ivankov or something like that, and then pick it up off of your leader effect seems pretty good. And even if you don't do that, I still think it's a good card to play as a 2K. Next, we're on 4 copies of Alvida as well. This card's actually not awful to put on the board if you have to, but just being another good 2K, I think, in the blue color is very good. Also being a 2 cost for your leader effect, of course. Next, we have 4 copies of Emporio Ivankov. Now, I think that this card is really, really strong, and I actually really, really like it in this list. However, you only have 2 targets for this in the list, and we're only on 6 of those. So I feel that this is a little risky. You know, you're going to be playing it late game. You are stacking your deck a little bit with Duval and this Usopp, but I feel like this is kind of risky, honestly. I think that if you brick on these and don't find your Luffy or your Ivankov, you're kind of just shit out of luck playing a 7-cost vanilla. But if you do have the cards, I actually really, really like this. I think this is really nice and it fits with the deck really well. Being a 7-drop 7k that on play draws until you have 3, and then you play a blue Impel Down type character with the cost of 6 or less from your hand, being able to play this Luffy, which is broken with this leader effect, or this Ivankov that can then get you some more advantage. I think I really like that a lot. So we were already talking about it. 2 copies of the 6-drop Impelled Down Luffy. I like this a lot, being an on-play and when attacking character that you can trash 2 cards from your hand to return a character with the cost of 4 or less to the owner's hand. Then it also gains double attack. So being able to do that, bounce like an annoying pesky blocker like a Borsellino or something like that, using your leader effect, bouncing one of your 2Ks back to your hand or something, and then swinging again with double attack for 7. Seems really, really strong. I like it a lot. I think that that's really spicy, and I think that it works well with this leader. Next, we have the 2-cost Usopp from the promo pack. I like this, but unfortunately, these aren't readily available in the TCG and are pretty expensive. So you might have to find something to replace this with if you were wanting to play this list. You could definitely play it on the sim, but if you don't have these, I know that these promos from the sealed battle event were pretty expensive. So if you do have them, I do like this a lot, being a 2-drop 3k with 1000 counter. On play, gets to look at the top 5 cards of your deck and place them in any order. Gets you set up for that Ivankov, gets you set up for some later turns and stuff like that. I do like this a lot in here. I would say just replace it with Perona, but then you're kind of missing the mark with that leader effect. You're not going to hit it every single time, but with this list, it looks like they're trying to hit that leader effect every time if they can. So if you can play the Usopps, play them. If not, maybe find another 2 cost that you could play in the game, in the deck. Next, we are on 4 copies of Ivankov. We already talked about this card, but being able to pair this with a lot of the targets in the deck, I mean, almost your entire deck, it feels like you'll almost never whiff with this card. You only have, I believe, itself, the Luffy, the Ivankov, and your event card are cards that you cannot play off of this. So it feels like you will almost never whiff with this, and I really like that. I think that makes this card very strong. Also, this Sanji being in here as a target for that, like I said, I like this Sanji. I think that it's pretty good, as well as Duval, and then the Parage shot, being able to play a 2-cost from the top of your deck and being most of your deck. I feel like you're never going to miss with this, and then you could just bounce it back to your hand next turn. It feels pretty dang good to me. Overall, I like this list, and I like the creativity the person that had this list put together and put into this, the thought they had behind it. Shout out to you, and yeah, I like it a lot. If you were wanting to try out this leader, I'd recommend trying something like this, a list that plays a lot of 2-cost characters and stuff. But if you've been testing around with this leader and you have something spicy to share, definitely drop it down in the comments below. Let me know the sauce, and if you want to share even more, hop into my Discord channel. There's a link to that down in the description below. We'd love to have you in there and love to see what you're brewing with this leader. Like I said, if you're interested in seeing more about this leader, stay tuned for a series I'll be doing on this leader and OPO6 here soon. I'm very excited for it, and I hope a lot of people will enjoy it, because I know I'm going to be enjoying it and having a fun time with it. But you have to stay tuned to see what that's about. But that's going to be it for today's video, y'all. I really appreciate you watching. Like I said, if you're not subscribed, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more content like this. And like the video, it really helps me out a lot. Lets other people see the video too. And if you haven't checked out Dueling Guard yet, man, you're sleeping. Go check them out. They make the best deck boxes and TCG accessories on the market. Use my code GumGumTCG. And yeah, I hope you all have a great rest of the week. And I will see you all on the next one. Peace.